My wealthy in-laws abandoned us because of my poverty, but now they return seeking forgiveness as their world crumbles. 7 years ago, my life changed dramatically. Now at 33, I look back and can still feel the echoes of that time. I was raised in the U.S., the son of Indian immigrants, Arjun and Meena, who worked tirelessly in a small restaurant they managed to own after years of relentless effort. We didn't have wealth, but what we had was resilience, values, and a belief that hard work was the cornerstone of a meaningful life. After college, I co-founded a software startup with friends. We were scrappy, clueless, and living off instant noodles while crashing on the office floor. But despite the chaos, I loved it and believed in what we were building. It was around then that I met Sophia. She was sharp, funny, ambitious, and unlike anyone I'd ever met. While her family was wealthy, owners of a successful chain of luxury department stores, Sophia didn't act like it. She was grounded and never once made me feel less than for my modest background. But her parents? They couldn't have been more different. Leonard, her father, had the kind of smile that seemed friendly but was laced with judgment, while her mother, Naomi, barely offered more than a cursory nod of acknowledgement. Their demeanor spoke volumes. I wasn't the man they pictured for their daughter. The son of restaurant owners with a risky startup didn't meet their standards of wealth or status. At first, their disapproval came in subtle comments. Leonard would ask with a smirk, "How's that little project going? Any plans to get a real job?" He'd laugh as though my ambition was a joke. Naomi would ask Sophia when she thought I couldn't hear, "Are you sure he's right for you, dear? You have so many options." Each word stung, but I stayed silent, believing that if Sophia and I proved our love strong enough, they'd eventually accept me. Then came the dinner that shattered any illusions I had. Sophia told me Leonard and Naomi wanted to invite my parents for dinner, a chance for everyone to get to know each other better. I hoped it was a step forward. My parents, who knew only a little of the disdain I faced, were cautious but optimistic, eager to meet the family of the woman I loved. We gathered at their sprawling home, seated at a dining table that could have fit 10 but held just 6 of us. The atmosphere was thick with tension. My dad, Arjun, ever the optimist, tried to keep things light, talking about their restaurant. "It's been almost 20 years now," he said, smiling. "It's hard work, but it's honest." Leonard leaned back, eyes narrowed, and said, "A restaurant, huh? Must be exhausting. Long hours, little pay." The silence that followed was deafening. My mom, Mina, always quick to find the good, managed a smile. "It's tough, yes, but we're proud. It's given us enough to raise our children well," she said. Leonard's smirk deepened. "But don't you think your son deserves more? In today's world, it's about money, connections, knowing the right people. I'm sure you wanted to have better." I saw my father's smile falter, his hands tensing under the table. They had worked their entire lives, so I could dream bigger, be more. Naomi chimed in, her voice smooth and detached. "I always told Sophia she should look for stability, a life where she's taken care of properly, not one filled with struggle." The room felt suffocating. My blood boiled as I glanced at Sophia. Her eyes were pleading, silently asking me to hold on. But I couldn't. "What's your problem?" I said, my voice steady but cold. "You think you're better than them because you have money? They've worked harder than you ever will." Leonard stood abruptly, his chair scraping the floor. His face turned red as he growled, "You don't speak to me that way in my house, boy. You're nothing. You think running a little startup makes you special? You'll always be beneath us." Before I could respond, Sophia's 2 brothers, both built like linebackers, stood and grabbed me. Everything happened fast. They hauled me out, dragged me down the hall, and shoved me out the front door. I tumbled down the steps, hitting the ground hard. One of them kicked me in the ribs. "Stay out of our lives," he spat before turning back inside. Lying there, the pain of their words stung more than my bruised side. Sophia ran out moments later, tears streaming down her face, apologizing over and over. I told her it wasn't her fault, but the humiliation sat heavy. The next day, we tried to report the incident to the police, but they shrugged it off. "Family dispute," one officer said dismissively. Leonard's influence was clear. Nobody wanted to stand against them. Sophia made a hard choice. She cut ties with her family, choosing me despite how much it hurt. We married months later, a small ceremony, surrounded by friends who were more like family. We sent an invitation to her parents as a last olive branch. Their response was cold. "You'll regret this. You'll regret marrying a poor man." The fallout from the lawsuits was brutal for Leonard and Naomi. Their carefully constructed reputation crumbled under the weight of scandal, and they were forced to sell parts of their department store chain just to cover the settlements. The whispers I'd heard were no longer just rumors. There were serious cracks in their financial armor. But even as they retreated into their opulent house, I felt that something deeper was at play. Then, one evening, Sophia and I sat together, unwinding after a long day, when she got a message from her younger cousin, Rachel. They hadn't spoken in years, but Rachel's words set Sophia on edge. "I heard what's going on with my uncle and aunt. Just know there's more to the story. They're not telling you everything." Sophia's eyes narrowed as she read the message. The implications gnawed at us both, so I decided to dig deeper. I reached out to a few contacts who knew the inner workings of Leonard's business world. What I found sent a chill down my spine. Leonard's empire wasn't just weakened by the lawsuits. It was teetering on the brink of collapse due to a series of bad investments and failed business ventures over the past few years. The store chain had taken a nosedive, and they were on the verge of losing everything. It turned out their sudden desire to reconnect wasn't just to mend emotional ties. It was a last-ditch effort to access our resources, perhaps even leverage our success to regain what they'd lost. I shared what I'd learned with Sophia. Her face, a mix of disbelief and betrayal, hardened as the truth settled in. "So it wasn't about us at all," she said, voice low and controlled. "It was about money. It's always been about money." It was like a dam had broken inside her. "They weren't just trying to reconnect," she continued, eyes blazing. "They were looking for a lifeline, using us to save themselves." The revelation sparked a rage in me that I hadn't felt since that night they humiliated my parents. They didn't care about Sophia, her happiness, or the years they'd missed. They wanted to preserve their image, their wealth, at any cost, determined not to let them manipulate us. I reached out to an old friend who worked in corporate law and told him everything. He confirmed my suspicions. Leonard and Naomi were trying to maneuver back into our lives, not out of remorse, but out of sheer desperation. Their business was on the edge of bankruptcy, and they'd seen our success as their way out. The next day, we received an invitation to a family gathering. It was clearly a staged event meant to corner us into offering support. Sophia and I went, but this time we were prepared. As we walked into their once grand home, it was a shadow of what it had been. Echoing hallways, expensive furniture that seemed out of place in the now empty rooms. Leonard greeted us with that same forced smile. "I'm glad you both came. It's been too long." He gestured to a lavish spread that looked more desperate than impressive. Naomi's eyes flitted nervously between us. Sophia didn't waste time. "Why now, Dad?" she asked. The tension was palpable. Why this sudden push to reconnect after everything? Leonard shifted uncomfortably, but masked it with a chuckle. "Can't a father want to make amends with his daughter?" He looked at me, the smile dropping for just a second. "And with you too, of course." I stepped forward, voice steady. "Is that really the reason? Or is it because your business is sinking and you need a way to pull it back up?" The room went dead silent. Naomi's face paled and Leonard's jaw clenched. Sophia's eyes filled with a mixture of anger and grief. "We know about the failed investments, the lawsuits draining your savings," she said, her voice trembling. "You weren't looking to reconnect. You were looking to use us." Leonard's facade shattered. He didn't even try to deny it. "We built everything from the ground up," he said, voice rising. "Do you think I'm going to watch it all slip away without a fight? Yes, we need help. And why shouldn't you help your own families?" "Family?" I echoed. "You only see us as a solution to your problems, not as people." Sophia's voice cut through the tension. "You made your choices, and so did we. We're done being pawns in your games. Find another way to save yourselves." The room seemed to shrink around us as we turned and left. This time, there were no threats, no attempts to stop us. The silence behind us spoke louder than any words ever could. We walked out of that house for the last time, knowing the past was truly where it belonged, behind us. In the days following that confrontation, there was no contact from Leonard or Naomi. The silence was both a relief and an unsettling reminder that this chapter wasn't fully closed. But Sophia and I were resolute. We had drawn a line, and it was final. Then came the twist we didn't expect. A week later, Sophia received a letter in the mail. It wasn't a formal invitation or an attempt at reconciliation. It was handwritten, shaky, and signed by Naomi. Sophia read it out loud, each word sending chills through us. Sophia, I know you may not want to hear from us again, but there is more at stake than just the business. Leonard hasn't told you everything, and I fear what's coming. We're running out of time, and so are you. Please, for your own sake, meet me one last time. Just me. No tricks. Sophia set the letter down, eyes wide with confusion and unease. What do you think she means? Running out of time, she whispered. My mind raced, sifting through possibilities, but none made sense. Cautiously, we agreed she would meet Naomi. It was risky, but curiosity and a lingering thread of concern pushed us forward. The meeting was set for a quiet cafe outside the city. I sat in a nearby booth, close enough to intervene if anything went sideways, watching Sophia as she waited. Naomi entered, looking gaunt and years older than I remembered. She scanned the room and found Sophia, her eyes filled with something unfamiliar, fear. I strained to hear their conversation, leaning just close enough without drawing attention. Why did you ask me here? Sophia asked, her voice steady but wary. Naomi took a deep breath. There's something your father didn't tell you. Those bad investments? They weren't just risky business moves. He borrowed money from the wrong people, Sophia. Dangerous people. And now they want it back with interest. Sophia's face paled. Why didn't you just tell us this before? Why the games? The manipulation? Naomi's hands shook as she sipped her coffee. Leonard is too proud. He'd never admit he was desperate enough to deal with people like that. He thought if we could secure your help quietly, we could pay them off without anyone knowing. But now it's too late. They know about you and your success. If Leonard doesn't pay up, they might come after you. My heart pounded as the implications sank in. This wasn't just about saving face or wealth. This was life or death. And now Sophia and I were caught in the crossfire. Sophia's eyes narrowed. You brought this on yourselves? And now you've put us in danger? How could you? Her voice wavered, anger battling with disbelief. I'm sorry, Naomi whispered, a tear slipping down her cheek. I know we were wrong. I know we don't deserve your help, but I can't let you walk away without warning you. I stepped in at that point, unable to stay in the background any longer. Naomi flinched when she saw me, but Sophia didn't stop me from sitting down. What do they want, exactly? I demanded. Money, Naomi said bluntly. A lot of it. If they don't get it, they'll come after anyone connected to him. They're ruthless. The weight of her words sat heavy between us. This wasn't just a story of pride or arrogance anymore. It was about survival. Sophia looked at me, eyes pleading. We need to figure out what to do. We can't ignore this. We left that cafe with more questions than answers. But one thing was clear. Leonard's actions had led us into a storm, and walking away wouldn't be enough. We had to protect ourselves and those we loved, even if it meant facing Leonard one last time. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.